Get it?
What it do, people? What it do? It's your main man, Anthony Smith, and I'm sitting here with my guy.
Yo, P in the building.
Y'all already know what it is, man. Welcome to episode 3 of Chop It Up. I cannot believe we made it this far, man.
Right. And it's been a journey, man.
Man, 3 episodes in, and we're going to take it to 3,000 on y'all. But today, on Chop It Up episode 3, we're going to talk about lenses, baby boy.
Yes, sir. We're going to talk about what we use, what our preference is, and kind of just an overview about how important your lens is.
Very, very, very important. Let me say that right now. If you are just getting into this DSLR world, this mirrorless world, and you looking at all these bodies that are coming out, bodies are replaceable. Lenses are going to be around for years upon years. So one key thing, invest in lenses over bodies.
Right. And I see it all the time. I hear it all the time. Folks want to complain about how much lenses cost. There's no going around it. You know, if you want to keep a cheap kit lens, or if you want to, you just don't want to make that investment because you think it's too expensive, not because you don't have the money. Because I've been there. I get it. Sometimes you're just on a budget. But if you're serious about the quality of your photos and the quality of what your video is going to be, that's where you need to spend your money.
Lenses, baby, lenses. So with that being said, that's a gym in itself. Nobody was here for myself and P to tell us that. So when we got into the game, it was more or less, I wanted to get the most expensive body that money could buy. And there was a lens that's still legendary, super legendary. And normally you cannot get this kind of quality for this price. But for some odd reason, Canon has a lens called the Nifty 50. It is a 50 millimeter 1.8 really cheaply built plastic body lens, but it is beast mode. And
Right.
It is like $100. You can find them on sale for you can find them on OfferUp, the marketplace on Facebook, any used Craigslist, something like that for $60, $70. And that is going to be probably one of the first lenses that needs to be in everybody's bag. Point blank, period. That is by far one of the number one pieces in photography that made me feel like I was pro.
Right. You definitely want. I started on a 50 and for a long time, and then it's a good base for you to kind of understand. Do you want to zoom in or do you want to zoom out? But no matter what, 50 is gonna keep you good. No matter what, 50 is just.
So they say 35 to 50 mil is what the human eye sees. So 35 millimeter is the reason why photographers lean toward that lens so much, is because when you look out of your two eyeballs right now, what you're seeing is about 35 millimeters, and 50 isn't too far off from that. So it's a good focal length for somebody that's starting, just that doesn't really have the eye to know what you're looking for, to grab one of those two focal lengths. Because I don't know, I feel like, I needed that 50 at the time. I put in so much work with that 50, and the reason is because the 50 was so cheap and every other lens was so damn expensive. I'm talking 10 times the amount.
100%.
10 times. There's like tenfold. And I'm like, oh man, I this next lens that I want to get is basically a camera body for me.
Right. I kept with the 54. That 50 did work. It let me stay on that T3i Rebel for a long time.
Funny story of what happened to my my 50 was, I went to go sell a camera body, and I just had it on there to show the guy the camera body. And he didn't have anything. Normally when you go sell a camera body, they bring a lens, or you have to show that the camera works. You're not just going to meet some guy at a Starbucks with a camera and he's just going to believe you that it works. So of course you're going to grab the cheapest lens that you have in your arsenal of lenses and slap it on there. So that's what I did. I grabbed the 50 and he looked at me and he was like, bro, I don't have nothing to cover up the camera sensor with. And I'm like, thinking like, that's your bad. Like, I've been having this 50 for like the past 10 years, and it was low key like one of the hardest decisions I had to make. I'm sitting there in Starbucks. It wasn't about the money. It was just the sentimental value of me having that lens from when I started this whole journey of photography and videography. But that's the way that my Nifty 50 left me.
I still got mine.
Whatever. Whatever.
So another lens that I would say my second purchase on my lens wasn't actually anything. It was my second purchase was actually a 65.
65.
I got a 65 macro lens from Canon, and then I jumped around and then went to me is my favorite lens period right now is that Sigma. That Sigma 18 to 35, that 1.8.
Yay.
This thing right here. Super versatile lens, man. And just the colors and everything that you get out of it. I've had it for about 2 years, and, you know, I've narrowed it down between this and another lens that I use that I'll get into here in a little bit. But that's, yeah, man. I found what works for me.
Yeah. Most definitely. And the lenses that I grab when I go shoot video are different from the lenses that I grab when I go shoot photography. 100%. It's just the way that it works out. It's just my style of shooting when I shoot photography. I like the way the 85 looks, and I like the way the 70 to 200 looks. And that's the 70 to 200 2.8 Mark II by Canon beast mode, point blank period. I love the images that I get from that lens still. And that lens is roughly 10 to 15 years old. I don't know exactly, but it's up there in age. They're already on like the Mark III, I believe. And then the 85, man. I picked up a cheaper version of the 85, and I like the look of it, but I wasn't getting the quality. And it was another one of those times where I should have just waited and got the one that mattered. But you know, I had $800 and I was like, let me go ahead and grab this Sigma. This was before the art lens. This is a Sigma DNG. Look it up, people. The Sigma DNG 85. Don't get me wrong. The lens is nice, but I was not getting that crispy quality. And when I compared it to what was out there at the time, like that 85 1.2 legendary Canon, there was no comparison.
Right.
None at all. So I had that lens for about a year or two, and then I finally made the jump up. And Sigma, of course, has a legendary line that's out there, the Sigma Art line. And one of the lenses that P was just talking about, the 18 to 35, is a Sigma Art. So what Sigma basically did is they took their third-party lenses and made them to where they had I guess you want to say A1 quality. Like, there's no other way to put it. It was almost like it was a native lens that you were throwing on your camera body. The autofocus was snappy. The picture colors, the picture quality was insane. And then you were getting wide apertures it goes all the way down to 1.4. It's not 1.2, but 1.4 will still give you that bokeh that you're looking for.
Right. There's just no comparison out there to me, like, as far as, like, especially if you're getting into the game and you don't know what you necessarily want to do and you don't want to spend too much money, you're not going to feel like you wasted an investment with a Sigma lens. It's just not going to happen.
It doesn't matter the camera body that you have. Look into the Sigma Art line, period. Point blank, period. I mean, you can spend the bread and go ahead and grab something that's way more expensive, that's native. If you want to, those are always going to be excellent and those are always going to work. But I'm talking about the people who are on the grind and on a budget. You cannot go wrong with the Sigma Art lens, no matter which one it is.
Right, on anybody.
Anybody.
It don't matter.
I even have adapters for all of my camera bodies to put my Sigma Art lenses from Canon on those bodies because that's how much I love them.
Right. Right. I do have one native lens. I have an Olympus. It's the 7 to 14 for the GH5. That thing is crazy. Like I'm telling you, like you can make a little 6x6 room look like a mansion. Like that that lens is murder. But that was one of my purchases where, it's just a lens I bring out every now and then. It's not my everyday. My everydays are the 18 to 35, and then I shoot with the 85. Those are just the focal lengths that work for me. That's one thing you guys got to remember is don't chase what another person uses if they don't shoot like you. If it doesn't complement your style, don't feel like you got to go run and, well, so and so uses this, so I got to use this.
You wasting your money.
Right. There is no rules. The only rules is to do you and do what you like. Make it make sense. And you don't got to worry about what the next person shooting on. You just don't. It's all about what's working for you and your style.
That is the best thing about this art form that we are in is it's an art form. So you can shoot something. It does not have to be perfect, but it can be you and it can be your style. And that's why people love you throughout the world and throughout your following, is because you're not like everybody else. And don't get me wrong, there are rules that should not be broken, but bend them motherfuckers.
Right. Do at the end of the day, do you. Make it make sense. Make it make sense. Do not worry about what the next person is doing or saying or anything like that, especially if you got your own little, if you've paved your own little, lane, who cares? Who cares? Well, you don't do this. You don't. Oh, so what? I don't do that. I don't do this. And I'm not going to, because that's not how I shoot, period.
Point blank, period. Do you. So, P, I got a question for you.
What up?
Let's talk video right now. When you go out to shoot a video gig, what are your top two lenses? Let's go top two. Top two lenses that you do not leave the house with when you go shoot just about anything.
18-35 and 85, 100%. Now, that is because I shoot on the GH5 primarily, and it's crop sensor, so it gives me a deeper focal length than what the lens actually is. Now, what I would like when I take the Sony out, I need to invest in that 24-70, because that's going to give me the same feel that I have on a GH. With the sensor being full size on a Sony, it's drawn back more. So it's a little adjustment when I jump back and forth from camera bodies. And I'm only bringing that Sony out when I'm in super 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 low light. If not, I'm still rocking with that GH, man.
100%, 100%. So if some of you guys that are noobs out there did not catch what P was saying, the Micro Four Thirds sensor that's on the GH5, it doubles whatever focal length you put on that camera body with the speed booster that we use. So with the 1.7 crop speed booster and the Micro Four Thirds, when he throws the 18-35 on the GH5, it doubles that 18. So it's a 36 to 70,
36 to 70,
somewhere in there.
And it drops that aperture down to 1.2.
Exactly.
Which is, if you guys don't want to invest in that speed booster, you guys got to understand that, the GH is limited on some stuff, but you got to use the accessories that are out to you. How do I get away with it not being able to expose in low light as well as the Sony? Well, I have the speed booster on there. My aperture's lower, so I don't have to compensate with boosting the ISO as much.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And the other big thing, I hate to always be the one to jump off subject, but when I think of something, I just got to get it out. A lot of people talk bad about the depth of field from the GH5, and I like it. It doesn't give you that full frame, super shallow depth of field. So a lot of times when you're shooting on the GH5 with the speed booster at a really low aperture, it looks like you're out of focus. And then when you get home, you be like, I nailed it.
Got him. But that's another thing too. If you guys can, and we're going to wrap this up here in a little bit. If you guys are ever in question, grab you a little monitor, man. If you can't afford the big ones, the more expensive ones, like the Atomos ones that are out there, then don't worry about it. Get you a cheap one just so that you can punch in and see. You know, the most horrible thing that you can do is get a beautiful shot out of focus.
100%. 100%.
You
get
gonna
home
kick yourself in the ass
and
every
it's just
time,
like,
man.
How did I even if it's slightly out of focus, and
Right.
that's one thing that I love about the GH is when I shoot on the full frame cameras that I have, if it's out of focus, it's out of focus. There's no bringing it back. There's nothing that you can do with the out of focus shot. It's just out of focus. It's done. With the GH5, it tends to look like it's going to be out of focus because you're looking at it on that super small screen. But man, when you get home, you could have just been close, just a little off, and it's gonna help you out. It's gonna help you out for sure.
Right, and you know, you guys dig into your camera settings, man. There's stuff in there to make sure that you're on focus. If you can't get a monitor, then make sure you set it a
Focus peaking.
Set your focus peaking up on a color that you know you're gonna pick up on.
Don't use red on white people.
Do not.
I'm just saying.
For whatever reason,
Hispanic people,
right? Right.
It doesn't complement their skin tone. You got to use something that's opposite. So you'll put red close to someone who's fair skinned, and it's gonna look like their skin. It's not gonna look like it's showing you what's in focus. So you got to use blue, yellow. Sometimes yellow's hard to see. You just got to run through them and see what works best for the skin tone or the object that you're shooting.
Yeah, man. So yeah, you guys, I hope you guys took away a lot from this. You know, we ran through it pretty quick, but we're gonna, it's kind of how the episodes are gonna go. We want you guys to engage. So ask us more questions, ask us, chime in and message us, and that's gonna give us a direction on the stuff that we know that you guys want to hear. We're gonna keep spitting stuff out regardless, but the more information and feedback that you guys give us, the more we can give you guys, man. We got a lot of knowledge. We've been through a lot of different situations, and we could definitely share as much as we can as far as the feedback goes. If not, we're still going to just give you what we got.
Yes, man. Thank you guys once again. And for all of those that are out there that are noobs, that's who this podcast is for. We're not kicking knowledge to people who are just like us. There's other people that are out there that are spitting game that have been around a lot longer than us. So if that's you, stay chimed in. And like me, I had P, so I'm sure that you got a friend. So pass the podcast along, share, man. We'll see you guys next week. I'm Anthony Smith.
P in the building.
And this is...